Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video we're going to learn the 1 to 4 player game, Chronicles of Crime 1400, designed by David Securial and Wojciech Krajewski and published by Lucky Duck Games, who helped sponsor this video. While based on the original Chronicles of Crime, 1400 is a completely standalone game that follows several of the same ideas with some new twists and a very different setting. In these games, you're tasked with solving a crime, but here, you're going to medieval times where you'll play as a knight prone to strange and prophetic dreams that give you glimpses into the past and future. Now, given the setting, you won't have all the latest technology at your disposal like this other game provided, so you'll have to rely on the other tools of the time. But whether you've played the original or are just getting started, here, I'm going to show you everything you need to know. So join me at the table, and let's learn how to play. To set up, place this evidence board in the center of the play area, along with what is known as the home location. The other double-sided locations you'll keep nearby for use later. Face down, also set the character, special item, and vision decks, which you can distinguish by their different backs. And you should sort them based on the values you'll find here in their corners. The cards with this back are known as the evidence categories. They're left face up and spread out as you like for easy viewing while playing. You don't have to organize them by their values. Also find and set out Percival, your faithful dog companion who will help you during the case. You'll also need to get the free app for Apple or Android devices, which I have ready to go here. Open it and then select the Chronicles of Crime version you're playing. For us, that's 1400. You'll find there's a tutorial and 4 separate cases. And these all say coming soon, but that's just because I have an early copy for this video. With a scenario selected that you want, you then tap play. The tutorial starts with some instructions about the setup, but we've already done that together, so I'm just going to skip through those pages and only show you the things that are relevant. Speaking of which, I'm going to try to avoid showing you as much as possible, even from the tutorial, so that if you want to play this through yourself and solve that case, then most of the mystery will still be there for you to discover on your own. Our story starts with a quick introduction as your dog wakes you up from a vivid dream. And after you're finished reading a page, you just tap next to continue. The story continues telling you that this dream was in fact more like a vision where you saw 3 people and a carriage. Scenarios in 1400 always begin with a prophetic dream that you've just had, and you'll be told to find certain visions and reveal them. These are represented by this eyeball symbol and will also show a value, 1 in this case. Find that numbered card in your vision deck and place it face up in front of you on the table. Visions show scenes from the near future or recent past that may provide clues during your case. Soon a messenger is at your door and he informs you that his master has called for your help in relation to a missing ring. When you see this symbol, it relates to an evidence category and will show a value. Here we see number 11. Go to the cards with that matching symbol on the back and also here on the front and find the related card, number 11 in this case, and then put it into any of the blue spaces of the evidence board here. You put things in the blue spaces when you know about them but haven't found them yet. So we know there's a ring that's missing, but it's not in our possession. Next in the story, we're told that the boy's master sent a pouch of coins to help us with expenses. This is evidence category 38, so we find that among the cards and add it to any of the red spaces of the board. Red spaces indicate things that you not only know about, but have had access to at some point. These coins, for example, unlike the jewelry, is something that we've been given. The messenger then invites us to visit his master near the Notre Dame Cathedral. When you see this waypoint symbol and a letter, it means you take the matching location from the stack you created earlier and set it within easy reach of the players. This is a location you can now visit whenever you like. And remember, these are double-sided, so check both sides when you're looking for a location that you might need. And with that, we've finished the introduction to the scenario, and that means we've finished the setup. In Chronicles of Crime 1400, the story of the case will be revealed as you play, providing you with opportunities to interrogate different characters, gather evidence, and investigate crime scenes. When you're ready to solve the case, you'll be prompted with a series of questions that, as players, you'll discuss together and answer, and then you'll be scored based on your performance. The game isn't really played in turns. Instead, everyone discusses what they'd like to do next, and then they do it as a group. So let's go back to the table and I'll explain what options you have. When you begin a scenario, it provides you with some starting items. In this case, we know about a ring, we have some coins, you'll always have your dog, and there are 2 locations in play, our home and this area. Your home is also where you can visit your family, and we'll talk more about how they can assist you later. And you'll notice that everything you can interact with in the game will have a QR code. As a group, you just need to decide which item to scan next. You begin the game at home, so let's start by seeing how to travel to a new location. First though, pay attention to the time of day as shown here at the top of the app. It says 9 o'clock. Now to travel to a new location, you hover your device over that location's QR code and then tap and hold here. You'll notice the time of day just advanced by 20 minutes. This is important because most everything you do in the game will cost time. Travel takes 20 minutes. Soon we'll learn about scanning codes to ask a character about something or to search a scene and things like that. Those types of actions take 5 minutes each. The quicker you solve the case, the better your score might be, and in some scenarios, as time passes, the case itself can change. A character who is in one location might move to another. A killer on the loose might claim another victim, and so on. You'll never know exactly how much time you're working with, so do your best to investigate in the most efficient way. After scanning a location, as we just did, it means that as players, we're all here, and your dog companion also goes everywhere with you. You'll also find that we're given some information when we arrive. An angry nobleman has greeted us. And when you see this symbol, known as a character symbol, along with a number, it means that you find that card within this deck and reveal it face up. We then go to the next page where it tells us that we see a woman seated silently in the room as well. Her card is listed as number 1, so we reveal that next. Each location has spaces for up to 4 characters, so when you run into people at a location, you add them to any of those slots. And you'll notice that they have scanning codes as well, so now we can interact with them. You can only interact with people if you're at their location. For example, back home we have our family members, but we can't scan them right now. To do that, we'd first have to travel home by scanning this code, and then we could interact with them. If you ever forget where you currently are, just check the top of the screen and it will tell you here. So let's talk to the noble by scanning him. He's pleased to see us and he needs our help. We'll skip these tutorial screens and get back to our scanner. As long as a character's name is here, then anything we scan from this point on is something we're asking them about. We can ask about people or any of the items that we have on our board. So let's start by asking the noble about this jewelry that's missing. But before we do, I'm going to go into the settings by tapping here and then select Auto Scan. With this turned on, from now on, when we scan a QR code, it will automatically show us the result. We don't have to confirm it. Cedric the Noble now tells us that his ring has gone missing from his bedroom. He'd been at his lodge hunting, and when he returned, his servant was gone, and so was his ring. The servant, we're told, is character 25, which I've now pulled from the deck. Anytime you learn about a new character, but don't know where that character is located, you add it to these slots of the evidence board at the bottom. These are people you know of and can ask about by scanning them, but you don't know where they are. This means they're people that you can't talk directly to, at least until you find them. Cedric now tells us what he wants. We must find the servant girl and the ring and find out what caused them both to go missing. Did she steal the ring as the noble suspects, or was it maybe something else? Either way, you now understand the crime you're solving and have an idea of the kinds of questions the game will likely ask you about when you're ready to solve the crime at the end of the game. With the conversation about the jewelry over, we can continue talking to Cedric by scanning another item. Remember, as long as a character's name is here, then anything you scan is something that you're asking them about. For example, if I scanned the woman next, I'd be asking him about her. But instead, if I want to talk to the woman directly, I'd need to end my conversation with Cedric by tapping goodbye here at the bottom. Now, if I scan the woman, I'm in a conversation with her, and I can ask her about any of the items that I have access to. But instead, let's look at something else we can do. Sometimes a location will give you the option to search the scene as we see here at the top. But before you select this option, have the other players spread out the evidence category cards on the table. While one person uses the app to look at the scene and call out what they're seeing, The other players will be looking for matching evidence categories from those here on the table to set aside. So let me show you an example of what this would look like. The player chosen to search the scene will hold the app and then tap here where they're given 3 options. If you have the 3D glasses, which you can pick up separately, you attach them to your device, and this allows you to search the scene in a virtual reality format. If you don't have 3D glasses or you just don't want to use them, tap the center button instead, and then after a 5-second countdown, you'll be shown the scene. Just pick up your device, and as you move it around, you'll see the different areas of the scene, and you'll call out what you're seeing to the other players. So I would call out that I see a chest at the end of a bed, or as I turn this way, I'd mention I see a chair, I can see a table. There's a bottle on the table, there's a Bible, and don't forget you can look up at the ceiling as well, and down at the floor. For example, I see a dress here on the floor underneath the bed, and so on. You'll have exactly 40 seconds, and then the scene will fade out. And you'll be able to pass the app over to another player, and if they'd like to examine the scene, they can as well, getting another 40 seconds. Just keep in mind, every time you search the scene, it's going to cost you another 5 minutes. As we were calling out items, the other players should have been looking for the related evidence category cards, setting them aside. For example, we called out chests, so they pulled out a card called boxes and packages. We saw tapestries, so they pulled out decorative items, and so on. Now, there may not be a card for everything, and you might miss some things, but when you're done, you then scan each selected item to see if they relate to the case. We'll start by scanning the boxes and packages. We then get a screen that tells us that the chest we saw is empty but could be used to store things. Then as we advance to the next screen, we're told that this chest is a clue. Specifically, we learn that the boxes and packages represent a wooden chest, and we're to put that item on one of the red spaces of the evidence board. For the tapestries I saw, the players pulled out decorative items, and the app acknowledges that we saw them, but says they're not of interest and should be returned to the deck of cards. Every item you scan will cost you 5 minutes. So don't just scan every card in this deck hoping you'll get a hit. Scan items you think relate to the crime. Also, to avoid spoiling this scenario, I'm going to stop scanning things. But you might end up with more items on your board after examining this same scene. As you acquire new items, you might then want to talk to people about what you've found and see if they know anything. But let's move on, because don't forget, your dog Percival is always with you, and he can be helpful as well. You can show things that are at your location to the dog, and then see how he responds. To do this, you'll first have to scan him, and then pick what you want to show him by scanning it. Now, we couldn't show him this ring because it's not present at our location. And if we tried to scan it, it would actually tell us this. However, if Percival picks up a scent, which is what happened after I showed him the wooden chest, we're told he immediately takes off running to location K. So we would want to find that, reveal it, and put it on the table. This is a new location we can travel to, and in fact, as it instructs us here, we immediately go there now. Instead of taking you to a new location, the item might cause your dog to point his nose at a person at your location. Or the dog might recognize a human scent but be unable to track it. Or Percival might just ignore the object, finding no recognizable scent. Either way, anything you show your dog will cost at least 5 minutes of time. But keep in mind, Percival never reacts to characters or locations, so don't scan them when Percival is active. Another option you always have is to check in with your family by scanning here to return home. Then you can scan any one of them to ask about something you'd like more information on. Your uncle works in the monastery library and may have information on religion or written documents you find. Your sister is a wealthy merchant and can likely give you valuable information on items you inquire about, while your brother is the king's spy, so he might have information about the people you meet. Each question you ask of your family members is another 5 minutes of game time, though, so use your family wisely. The only thing we haven't covered are special items. In the app, these will show a star and a number, meaning you reveal that number from this deck and place it where you're told. We've now looked at all the different types of scans you can perform, and as you continue the case, you'll find new locations to visit and people to talk to. And feel free to take notes and discuss openly with each other about what you think the solution to the case might be. You can also leave the case at any time, and if you restart that same scenario, it will resume where you left off, or you can just restart it from the beginning. But just make sure that you set aside any cards you've pulled from the deck if you do plan to resume a case later. Once you believe you've solved the case, go to the place specified by the scenario to solve it. In the tutorial, this is back at your home, so scan that location and you'll get this option to solve the case, which you then tap. You'll be asked to confirm whether or not you're ready, and then after you hit yes, you'll then be asked a series of questions which you'll answer by scanning the cards you found that support your answer. I'm not going to answer the questions here because of course I don't want to spoil this for you, but when you're done, you'll get a score based on how correct you were and how long it took you to finish the case. You can then play the scenario again if you'd like to try to do better, or click this solution button to have the case fully explained to you. Then you can start up a new case and solve a new mystery. And that's how you play Chronicles of Crime 1400. Keep an eye out for additional games in this series set in different time periods like the upcoming 1900 and the year 2400. That said, if you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. But until next time, thanks for watching.